Let's dive into the details of the conference afterparty. Initially, this trip was just another business obligation for me, the usual cycle of conferences, seminars, networking events, and, of course, the obligatory afterparty. I had participated in countless work trips before, but this time, my wife, Lisa, decided to join me. She thought it would be a refreshing escape from our two young children, Ethan and Sarah, who are 5 and 7 years old. The prospect of leaving the daily chaos behind for a few days in a luxurious hotel was too tempting for her to pass up. Lisa reasoned that I would be busy during the day, allowing her to lounge by the pool, indulge in spa treatments, and enjoy our dinners together in the evenings. It sounded like a win-win. A little quality time away from parenting duties could be just what we needed. When we arrived at the conference hotel in sunny Orlando, the air was filled with excitement and anticipation. I spent the first day attending a series of sessions on market disruption and the future of innovation, topics that, to be honest, bored me to tears. Meanwhile, Lisa enjoyed her time at the hotel pool, sending me cheerful texts filled with images of cocktails and bright sunshine, a stark contrast to my day spent in a dimly lit conference room surrounded by my boss and 100 other business types who prided themselves on their use of buzzwords like synergistic solutions to convey intelligence. As the day transitioned into night, everything seemed to be going smoothly, until it didn't. The evening kicked off with the post-conference dinner, the typical event where attendees eagerly gravitate toward the open bar to unwind after a long day of networking. Lisa looked stunning in her black cocktail dress, more suited for a gala than a corporate event. She exuded confidence and charm, and I felt proud to have her by my side. As the dinner progressed, the atmosphere was lively, and she engaged with my colleagues, making conversation and sharing laughter. It seemed as if she was enjoying herself, blending seamlessly with the group. However, the mood took a sudden turn after dinner. One of my colleagues, DK, a charming yet slippery marketing guy with a smile that didn't inspire trust, leaned over and suggested we move to the hotel bar for drinks. "Come on, James," he said, his eyes flickering between Lisa and me. "Let's have a nightcap." "Lisa, don't let him drag you away just yet." I felt a slight reluctance to join them. Bars have never been my scene. The thought of loud music, crowded spaces, and the potential for overindulgence didn't appeal to me. But Lisa nudged me, encouraging me to loosen up and have some fun, reminding me that I rarely let myself go. So, against my better judgment, we went. A small group from the conference gathered at the bar, ordering drinks and settling in for what was supposed to be a relaxed night out. The atmosphere was casual, and everyone seemed to be in high spirits, laughing and sharing stories. Yet, as the drinks flowed and the night wore on, I began to notice something unsettling. Lisa was engaging in conversation with DK more than I felt comfortable with. At first, their interaction seemed innocent enough, a few shared laughs, some playful teasing, but then I caught sight of her leaning in a little too close to him, whispering something in his ear while he laughed a bit too loudly for my liking. I tried to brush it off as just the effects of alcohol loosening her up, but a gnawing instinct in my gut told me otherwise. Call it intuition or paranoia, either way, I found myself becoming increasingly attentive to their interaction. My mind raced with thoughts. Was I overreacting? Did I have a right to feel this way? After about an hour, the group started to dwindle as people began to retire for the night, either heading back to their rooms or calling it a day. I figured it was time for us to leave as well. "Hey babe, what do you say we head back up? We have an early start tomorrow," I suggested, gently wrapping my arm around Lisa's waist. To my surprise, she avoided my gaze and replied, "Actually, I think I'm going to get some air with DK for a minute." I paused, taken aback by her response. Why the hell would she need to go anywhere with him? Before I could voice my concern, I watched helplessly as they moved toward the exit together, leaving me behind in a cloud of confusion and suspicion. My heart raced as I tried to comprehend what was happening. Was this just a casual stroll outside, or was something more going on? As I stood there, the chatter and laughter from the bar faded into the background, replaced by a growing sense of unease and betrayal. The lobby buzzed with the energy of mingling guests, laughter spilling over the clinking of glasses. Just a minute after Lisa stepped away to chat with Dirk, I caught sight of her waving goodbye as they turned the corner, vanishing from my view. I had never considered myself a suspicious person. I had always placed my trust in Lisa, believing that after nearly a decade together, I knew her better than anyone. But in that moment, a gnawing feeling of unease settled in my stomach, a warning signal that something wasn't quite right. I tried to shake off the feeling, convincing myself it was nothing more than paranoia. I lingered at the bar longer than I should have, nursing my drink and engaging in light conversation with a colleague. Yet, despite my efforts to focus on the present, my thoughts kept drifting back to Lisa and Dirk. Where were they? What were they talking about? 30 minutes passed, stretching into what felt like an eternity, and the knot in my stomach tightened further. Finally, Lisa returned, and I noticed she was alone. At first glance, she appeared calm and collected, as though nothing unusual had happened. But as I scrutinized her features, I noticed subtle signs that told a different story. There was a faint flush on her cheeks, a stark contrast to the composed demeanor she had earlier in the evening. Her lipstick, once perfectly applied, now bore a smudge, and the dress that had been neatly fitted to her figure now looked slightly rumpled, as if she had been caught in a whirlwind. "Ready to go?" she asked, her tone casual, almost too casual for my comfort, as if she hadn't just spent the last half hour with another man. I nodded, trying to keep my composure, not wanting to make a scene in front of our colleagues, but inside, my mind raced with questions. We walked back to our room in silence, while she chatted about how enjoyable the evening had been. I played along, laughing at her jokes, but beneath my facade, I felt the pieces of a troubling puzzle beginning to form. Something was definitely off. The next morning, I woke up early, a sense of dread hanging over me like a heavy fog. Lisa lay beside me, peaceful and innocent in her sleep. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had happened the night before. Desperate for distraction, I grabbed my phone and began scrolling through my messages, but then the thought of Dirk hit me again. My heart raced. I didn't want to believe it, but my instincts told me I needed to check. So, while Lisa slept, I quietly slipped out of bed and made my way downstairs to the breakfast buffet. Sure enough, I found Dirk, who was looking far too chipper for someone who had been drinking all night. "Morning, man," I said, attempting to sound casual. "Hey, James. Great night, huh?" Dirk replied, his grin wide and seemingly carefree. "Yeah, about that." I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "Where did you and Lisa go last night?" "She said you two went for some air, but I don't know, something feels off." For a brief moment, I saw Dirk's smile falter, but he quickly recovered, his demeanor smoothing out. "Oh, we just went for a walk around the hotel. You know how it is, needed to clear our heads after all those drinks. Nothing to worry about." His response was too rehearsed, too smooth, and I felt a tightening in my gut. This guy was hiding something. I didn't push further. Instead, I nodded, grabbed a cup of coffee, and headed back to the room. When I returned, Lisa was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and smiled at me, but there was a distance in her eyes that sent another wave of unease through me. "You okay?" she asked, her voice laced with an overly sweet tone. "Yeah, just tired," I muttered, though tired wasn't what I truly felt. Suspicion clawed at me, and over the next few days, that suspicion only grew. Lisa and Dirk hardly interacted during the remainder of the conference, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had transpired between them that night. Each time I looked at her, the question loomed larger in my mind. Was she hiding something? Back home, the nagging doubt followed me like a shadow. Lisa slipped back into her routine, managing the kids and her daily tasks as if nothing had changed. But I couldn't let it go. I replayed that night over and over in my head, and each time I reached the same grim conclusion: she had cheated on me. One evening, while Lisa was out running errands, I made a choice I never thought I would. I went through her phone, battling feelings of guilt and dread. I hated myself for invading her privacy, but I had to know the truth. As I scrolled through her messages, I stumbled upon a chat with her best friend, but hidden beneath it was a conversation with Dirk. The messages weren't explicit, but they were suggestive enough. They spoke about that night and how they needed to be more careful in the future. My heart sank with every line I read. When Lisa returned home, I confronted her, my heart racing with anticipation and fear. I didn't raise my voice. Instead, I asked her directly, "Did you sleep with Dirk?" Her face drained of color, and for a fleeting moment, I thought she might deny it. But then, to my horror, she broke down in tears. "It was a mistake, James. It only happened once. I was drunk, and it didn't mean anything. I love you, not him. Please, you have to believe me." I stood there, frozen, trying to process what I had just heard. A mistake? How could she justify cheating on me as a mistake? Waves of conflicting emotions crashed over me: anger, betrayal, sadness, each one overwhelming in its intensity. "I trusted you," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "You've completely destroyed that trust." She cried and begged for forgiveness, but I felt the walls closing in around me. I couldn't stay there. I needed to escape, to think clearly. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door, the weight of betrayal heavy on my shoulders. I drove aimlessly for hours, the landscape outside blurring into a haze as I wrestled with my thoughts. Now, it has been weeks since that night, and the situation hasn't improved. We continue to live together for the sake of the kids, but our relationship hangs by a thread. Lisa insists she wants to make things work and promises to do anything to repair the damage she's caused, but doubt lingers in my heart. Part of me longs to move on, to leave this chaos behind, but another part of me clings to the life we built together, the children, the shared memories, the love we once cherished. I'm not sure I can throw all of that away so easily. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, uncertain of where the path will lead. But one thing is clear, nothing will ever be the same again.